Introduction. Everyone has their own take on the Windows 8 convertible tablet, laptop, but Dell's hybrid Ultrabook is unique. Rather than twist, like the Lenovo ThinkPad Twist, or detach, like the Asus VivoTab, the Dell XPS 12 flips its screen around a local hinge that's integrated into its bezel. It's a bit difficult to describe, but looking at the pictures you probably get the idea. This is a preferable transformation approach to the Lenovo IdeaPad Yoga 13's whole screen flip mechanism, as it doesn't leave the keyboard facing out at the device's base when in tablet mode. But the XPS Duo 12's appeal doesn't end at the innovative way it transforms either. Its design and build are inspired by the very premium Dell XPS 13 Ultrabook rather than the cheap and cheerful Dell XPS 10 Windows RT convertible, so it looks and feels superb. Under its metal and carbon fiber hood, the Dell XPS 12 is just as impressive, sporting a 1080p, 400 nits IPS touchscreen, up to a Core i7 CPU, 8GB of RAM and a 256GB SSD. That's some serious power for its £999 starting price, so can this be the convertible laptop to rule them all? Dell XPS 12, Design and Build. There are no two ways about it, just like the XPS 13 before it, the Dell XPS 12 is a beautiful bit of kit. The lid is black, soft touch carbon fiber, which gives a distinct and attractive pattern. Though it picks up the occasional echo of a fingerprint, it's generally easy to maintain, and quite rugged too. This soft black area is surrounded by anodized aluminium trim, which is in fact the frame that holds the swinging tablet part of the laptop. Opening the XPS 12 up, we're treated to nicely consistent internals. The screen is surrounded by a glossy black bezel and fronted by a seamless sheet of Gorilla Glass, while the keyboard and its surrounds are finished in traditional black soft touch plastic. An aluminium surround, this time without hinges, separates this from the base's sides and bottom, which are all soft touch black. This not only makes the XPS Duo 12 lovely to hold and carry, but ensures it stays safely on your lap too. The only design element we're not fond of is that the power plug sticks straight out from the right-hand side, rather than being L-shaped. With the use of all these premium materials, glass, carbon fiber, metal and high-grade plastics, it's no surprise that the XPS 12 is immaculately constructed. It might not have quite the same rigidity as the 13-inch MacBook Air, but there's not a hint of creak or unwanted flex, and panels fit perfectly. Both the main hinge and the 12's unique inner flip hinge are also incredibly solid and offer beautifully defined action. As a laptop, the Dell XPS 12 is quite thin, 23mm at its thickest, and reasonably light, 1.54 kilograms. The disadvantage compared to a fully detachable convertible design is that you can't remove the screen from the keyboard and need to carry around the whole machine at all times. As such, it's on the heavy side for a tablet, but we'll get into that later. Dell XPS 12, Screen. The XPS 12's 12.5-inch Full HD screen is mostly a thing of beauty. It's rated at a very bright 400 nits, which helps outdoor visibility, and uses an IPS panel for generally good viewing angles, essential on any high-end device, but especially one that can be used as a tablet. With a resolution of 1920 by 1080 pixels, sharpness is excellent, with no sign of unwanted artifacts. Blacks are also nice and deep, while colors pop, partially thanks to the screen's glossy finish. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The protective layer of Gorilla Glass, for example, does cause some annoying reflections. Dark detailing falls a little short too, even on maximum brightness, with the two subtlest black shades being indistinguishable. There's also a surprising amount of backlight unevenness along with the tiniest hint of bleed from the bottom bezel. That said, the Dell XPS 12 screen is still a pleasure to use overall and most content looks great, it's just not quite the best we've encountered. Dell XPS 12, Specs and Performance. As the XPS 12 offers specs comparable to any high-end Ultrabook, it pretty much breezed through most of our tests. Heading the charge is a dual-core Intel Core i7-3517U, which runs at 1.9 GHz by default but can turbo clock up to 3 GHz and supports up to 4 virtual cores. This is plenty of processing grunt for almost any task you'd want to do on a laptop, and so it's probably safe for most users to go down the Core i5 route instead. Likewise, memory is flexible. Most will be happy enough with 4 GB of RAM, but you can take that up to 8 GB if you multitask intensively, use your laptop for video editing, or use other RAM-hungry applications. For storage, meanwhile, you can choose between a 128 GB or 256 GB SSD. Our test sample came with maximum specs in all areas, but will set you back £1,300 for the privilege, rather than the £1,000 base price. As usual, graphics is the weak point, with the integrated Intel HD 4000 barely managing 3D gaming. In Stalker, for example, the Dell XPS 12 only managed at 24 FPS, frames per second, average at medium detail and 720p rather than the screen's native 1080p. Considering this is hardly what you would call a demanding game these days, cutting-edge titles will fare even worse. Mind you, gaming aside, the XPS 12's performance is all good news, and this continues with its noise levels. We rarely heard more than a gentle hum in regular use, and even under load its fans become very audible.